the Sunshine Sports Report on 904live.com. I'm Greg Daniels.
I am Marlon Jones.
And thank you so much for tuning in. If you are receiving this broadcast, don't forget to like, make comments, and share with your friends and family. We're just here kicking and talking a little sports, right, Marlon?
Oh, always.
Just talking a little stuff. And since we're on the 904live.com platform, we talk mainly things we think Duval County might be interested in.
Yeah.
But if you want to, say like you're catching this broadcast, say in California or Ohio or Michigan, and you want to talk about your sports teams or likes, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And before each show, we sit around and we kick in. We talk about what we're going to talk about for each show. One thing that we got to mention to one another was the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
NBA is a quarter of the way done.
Lakers have the best record in the league.
Tied with the best record.
Oh, tied now.
Yeah, Milwaukee, both of them are 22-3.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get to the NBA because a lot of good stories in the NBA. First of all, let's start here in good old Duval County.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Last Sunday,
Oh, no. Yeah.
our Jacksonville Jaguars, and I say our because we're from Duval County, they took on I think they were 4-8 too, the LA Chargers. Both teams were 4-8.
Yeah.
You would expect a pretty even game.
No.
It wasn't even, well, it was even at first because the Jaguars scored the first 3 points, and after that, it was all Chargers.
Yeah.
Chargers wound up winning 45-10.
Go Curious.
Fifth straight
crazy.
blowout loss.
The St.
Fifth
Augustine
straight
Alligator Farm
blowout
Zoological Park.
Lost by
Your journey awaits.
17 points
It's
or
time to go.
more.
Mm-hmm.
And that hadn't been done since 1986. You do the math as to how long ago that was.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, during that time period from 86 up until now, Cincinnati and Detroit both went 0-16.
But they were still competitive, though.
Well, as competitive as 0-16 teams can be.
Mm-hmm.
The Jaguars haven't been competitive all month.
No.
All
Not
month.
at all. Nah.
Well, I take that back because in several of the games, they were close in the first half. When
we can't count the first half now. We can't just count the first half. I mean, at the end of the day, they have been playing bad on offense,
right.
bad on defense. I mean, and if you're bad on offense, bad on defense, we're not even going to take credit for special teams. We're just a bad team right now, and I would say the locker room is probably quit at this point.
On the way here to the studio, I was listening to the radio, and we know that the Jaguars are probably going to wind up shaving some of the coaching staff, if not dismissing everybody.
Right.
Well, it's already started.
Mm.
One of the coaches for the Jaguars, and during the course of the show, we'll name him. He's already been named to the head coaching of Montreal Alouettes.
Mm.
So he knows that his days in Duval are numbered.
done.
So he's already turned in his resume. Not only has he turned in his resume, he's now got a job.
Yeah.
So that's
And
one.
Thank God, hey, appreciate your help here, but yes, go to Canada. You can go to Canada now if you want to. I'm sure we won't miss it because whatever position you're playing, whatever position coach you are, your team is not. They're not responding to you.
And this guy here, I gotta tell you, Marlon is one of the biggest Jaguar fans I've ever met. Really, I mean, when things were looking bleak, he said, well, it's only because of. Right now, he's not giving anything to anybody.
It's bad all the way across the board, mainly because the team has quit. I can say that the offensive line is bad, but then the defensive line has been playing badly. The defensive backs have been playing badly. The linebackers have been playing badly. All across the board, everybody, even the guys that sell the popcorn, they're performing badly.
They're not performing badly because they just don't have the customers to perform for. That's what the problem is.
I mean,
yeah, they're on their game. There's no game for them.
right.
We joke about it though. Sports is usually fun, and of course we do hope that the Jaguars do become more competitive because they do represent our city, the 904. So
The revenue of the city and
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
else, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna get a little nostalgic here for a brief moment. I remember before the Jaguars,
right,
and I would root for players. I didn't have a team. I'm from Miami, but
the Dolphins were.
well, not even
sucky.
just that, but I really wasn't into NFL when I left Miami.
Okay.
So the only NFL that I knew of when I moved to Jacksonville was mostly Pittsburgh Steelers because that was the team. That was where we saw the most games with the Pittsburgh Steelers games.
Okay.
One of my favorite players was Greg Lloyd. Now in '95, we were announced to get in our team.
Right.
And from that day forward, I made a vow that I was a Jaguar fan from that point to the day they buried me. So no matter how badly they play, I'm still a Jaguar fan. The pride is lost because I don't feel like we've been putting the best product on the field. I feel like the product that's on the field is just not matching the passion of the fans that come there, and it's not like these, to get into the stadium is cheap.
No, it isn't. It's one of the least expensive in the league, but that doesn't say it's cheap.
Yeah. So if you're a passionate fan base, do you really want to go and see your team get their head kicked in and week out?
I've been a football fan for a long time, and usually I can kind of see what is going wrong or what went wrong or what needs to be done to repair the problem. I don't know where to start.
I'll tell you where to start. You start with the head coach, you start with the front office, and you make adjustments. You have to clean house. Reason being is when the team stops playing, that means that the message is not resonating anymore. No one is listening to the coach. No one is listening to anyone in leadership within that building right now. So with that being said, get rid of leadership, bring in a new voice, and you have to hit the reset button. You have to hit the reset button.
And
Super Bowl is not even in the conversation right now.
a couple of years ago, I guess 2017, the window was open for the Jaguars. They were looking like they were on the coming up. They were
Right.
coming up. They were going to be one of the top teams for 2, 3, maybe 4 years. That kind of closed quickly, very quickly.
I think the Bortles decision really had some ripple effects.
Well, after 2017, you had to keep him.
No, you didn't have to.
You had to keep him
No, you
because
did not.
he wasn't the reason why you were bad, or it appeared. He wasn't the reason why you were losing. He was, in fact, he won a couple of games just on his legs or throwing.
As many starting quarterback option or availabilities or vacancies that there are available in the league right now, the fact that Blake Bortles is a backup tells you everything that you need to know.
We know that now. Sitting here in 2019, we know all of that. At the end of 2017, we didn't know that.
I knew that. I said that on this show.
Well,
that Blake Bortles was needed to go.
Well, he didn't go. In fact,
they gave him more money.
Exactly, he got more money, and
that
maybe
is
that,
the reason why.
And maybe that's where the locker room kind of split.
Yeah, because if you see a guy that you see week in and week out that's not performing in practice, that's not performing on game day, and he gets more money, individuals that are wanting more money aren't getting their contracts done, and this guy's gotten paid, and he does nothing for you. If anything, he regressed and set the franchise back another 4 or 5 years.
And that may have been the problem, that they kept Blake and a couple of other players either didn't get what they thought they deserved or were lost altogether because of cap situation.
We kept Blake. We had we scouted Norvell incorrectly. We brought him in, paid him a lion's sum of money,
Right.
and that didn't pan out. I still feel
but that was what the needs of the Jaguars were. They just guessed wrong on the player.
it was a scouting. That was a scouting gaffe.
Yeah, there wasn't a position mistake. It was a player mistake.
Right. That was a scouting mistake. Then you have the Brandon Linder issue. Brandon Linder was definitely in line as one of the better offensive linemen in the league.
Right.
But Brandon Linder was one of the better right guards in the league.
Okay.
I was not a proponent in moving Brandon Linder to the center position. Yes, he can play center, but is he the best center in the NFL? No, he is not. It's obvious that he's not. But you paid him for a position that he did not excel at. If he was the Pro Bowl center, I can see giving him top center money. He was not a Pro Bowl center.
He was a stopgap. He was used as a stopgap, but then they decided because he played fairly well, let's keep him there.
And that was another decision that was wrong.
And then that may be the reason why another part of the locker room was lost.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where we are with the Jaguars. Mm-hmm. You say to start the remedy is to get rid of the coaching staff. But then what about the players? The players are the ones who go on the field and play the game. Where do you start? Do you start with a new quarterback? Do you start with the offensive lineman? Do you start with defensive line? Where do you go?
I think that in this draft, we need to focus very heavily on that offensive line because regardless of whether or not it's for this year, for next year, or if the year after, every good team in the league, you can look to the offensive line to say, okay, this is where they're able to make moves.
That makes sense because they are the battery of the offense. Even though the other guys, the wide receivers and the quarterback and even the running back, they get all the headlines. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the battery, then you have nothing.
And then my other question is, why did we go away from the fullback? I never could understand why we went away from the fullback.
Well, I think it's NFL is a copycat league, and most other NFL teams don't have fullbacks, and I think they decided, let's do that.
Well, that I feel is also hurting this running game because this offensive line is not good enough. But if you had a fullback, you would at least allow Leonard Fournette to have at least a little bit of a crease to be able to at least keep a 5-yard consistency going.
You're saying that it opened up another weakness for the Jaguars, and that's at tight end.
Yes.
Because even if you have at least a starting tight end, it's not that the depth is not that good. It really isn't that good.
So you can utilize, instead of your tight end, at this point you can then utilize your fullback running out of the backfield as another option, but they only have that option because you don't have a fullback now.
Right. Well,
and we drafted one, 2 years ago?
Yeah. Enough about the Jaguars.
Yes, sir.
Because it's Thursday night.
Yes, it is.
And we're just minutes away from Thursday night football.
Oh, yes.
The Baltimore Ravens take on the New York Jets. Where are they playing at? Is it New York?
Doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, wherever the Ravens go, it's their stadium. Right now, the Ravens, and this is not hype, this is not hyperbole, this is fact. They're the hottest team in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
they're one
definitely
of the best teams in the NFL right now.
And Jim Harbaugh, you can say what you want to, but he's one of the best coaches in the NFL.
I would say Coach of the Year candidate.
Well, I mean, when I say one of the best,
winning.
I'm not just talking about this year. I'm talking about during his entire career because he's won with all types of teams.
who had Baltimore in the conversation as being one of the best teams in the league before this season started?
Well, I think they were mentioned to possibly be a contender for the AFC North, but that was it.
Right. I mean, people were still saying that Pittsburgh still had pieces of that offense in place to stay competitive. Everybody had crowned the Browns. I mean, to the point where you're watching Baker Mayfield talking about, a man should cut his own yard. But how is that your yard? You're barely there. You haven't even been there a full good. Starting a full season
wait a
yet.
minute. What did he say? A man should cut his own yard.
Yes, he got commercials where he's out there and the groundskeeper's out there and he's trying to start a lawnmower and saying a man should cut his own yard. How is that your yard? You haven't even started their full season yet.
Okay.
And you haven't won anything yet. He's doing all this talking, throwing the medical staff under the bus. I think that they basically created a monster.
Well, Cleveland's been playing better though. I think they won 5 straight.
They're on a run right now, and from what I hear, they are still in playoff contention.
Right, but if Baltimore wins this evening against the Jets, they clinch they actually won the AFC North.
But part of the problem,
and then I don't think Cleveland has a legitimate chance of making it as one of the wild card teams. I don't see that happening.
well, apparently also Odell Beckham Jr. has been playing with a sports hernia.
Really? Now that I didn't hear.
That's the reason why Baker Mayfield supposedly threw the medical staff under the bus, is because he was saying that this should have been identified long ago.
Okay.
He's been playing with this. He's been hampered by this. No one knows about it, and it just makes him look like he's not playing very well when he's one of the top in the league.
And then it was a question of whether he was going to be back next season anyway.
Right. Well,
Now he says he will, and Jarvis Landry is a teammate, not only teammate with the Browns. He's best friends. He was also college teammate at LSU.
They're practically family, the two of them.
Yeah, maybe two.
Because they played in high school together,
They
played in college
they
together.
play very similar too, or at least they look similar.
I mean, had their hair frosted together.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay. Never mind. Let's move on from that.
But anyway, Cleveland to this point has been a disappointment, but they are playing better. And also Pittsburgh in that division, they're still alive. They played better than expected.
Yes.
And
Mike Tomlin definitely is a Coach of the Year candidate as well.
And they're doing it without their starting quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger.
They're doing it without their
it's
starting
been going
quarterback.
For what since the midseason.
I think he was lost early in the season.
Early
in the season. So you've done it without your starting quarterback,
Right.
with 2 backup quarterbacks. Right now you don't even have your starting receiver. You haven't had your starting running back for the majority of the season. He's been in and out with injuries.
Connor, yeah.
I mean, you've basically been doing it with smoke and mirrors and defense.
Well, defense.
Yeah.
And that's where Pittsburgh, as you say, you grew up a Pittsburgh fan. That's where Pittsburgh hung the hat anyway, was on defense. And it hadn't been until Roethlisberger got to Pittsburgh that they even really played offense.
Right.
It was just keep away and tough D.
But even the defense was struggling at the beginning of the season. Then they made the trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Right, from Miami, absolutely.
And he changed the whole dynamic of that defense. And now they're one of the leaders in the league in turnovers.
And remember, he just
And sacks.
He couldn't get along in Miami. He just couldn't.
Well, I mean, Miami right now is a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It's a dumpster fire, and I feel for the coach because this is his first opportunity, first year, and all of a sudden, they're one of the laughing stocks of the league now. They're starting to kind of gain a modicum of respect towards the end of the season, where they're playing competitive. They're going out there. They're winning games they shouldn't win. They beat the Eagles.
Right.
So I mean, Now they're finally starting to look like an NFL team. He just needs the players. Once he gets the players in place, if he's as good a coach as he's starting to look like he might be, Miami, it shouldn't take very long for Miami to turn it around.
Well, since you're talking about Miami, let's talk about the AFC East.
Yes.
Okay, we've already mentioned Miami. Let's talk about the top dog, the Patriots. Patriots,
No. Not anymore.
aren't they?
Not anymore.
Buffalo has surpassed them.
The Patriots offense right now makes them look like they may not make it out of the first round.
Well, they're still world champs until somebody takes it from them. They're still a top dog.
Yeah, but that offense is not even close
And how
to
many
being playoff ready.
how many years, how many different seasons, I should say, have we said that the Patriots offense was suspect? And
We've said it. Rarely have you heard Brady say it.
Brady may be trying to light a fire on them. We never know. I'm not counting the Patriots out until they're out. And they are, right now, to me anyway, they're still a top dog in the AFC East. But Buffalo's coming up quick.
Yeah, and I feel like Buffalo is using a similar scheme to what you're seeing from Baltimore. You know,
Well, they have the players. And they were able to draft, and they
Yeah.
drafted well.
and then defense basically keeps them in the game, allows the offense to be able to make plays, and Josh Allen, up until this past game, has been doing a lot with his legs.
Right. Kind of like Minshew. He's doing just enough to get first downs and keep the ball away from the other team's offense.
But Josh Allen is much more effective with his legs than Minshew could ever be. Much more effective. And the thing with Josh Allen, he's not that accurate of a passer, but he has the arm. If a guy can get open and give him
So he's always a threat.
always a threat.
For the big play.
Exactly. So I feel like now this past game, he went out with an ankle injury. And if you notice, if you look at the box score on this last game, the running was not there.
Right.
Because once he injured his ankle, you don't expect him to run. And so depending on how that ankle does this next week, that we may see a regression in that offense.
Well, we'll see. But like you say, Buffalo has a strong defense.
Yes.
This is the Sunshine Sports Report. Greg Daniels, Marlon Jones, and we're on the 904 Live platform.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
forget to like and share with your friends and family. We're here every Thursday at 7 o'clock. Drop us a line in the comments section. If you're not able to watch the entire show or the entire hour or so of the show, fine. We're gonna replay it on 904 Live. It's gonna be on Facebook. 904 Live. It's going to be on Periscope. Excuse me.
You can go to either one of our pages. and
Our
we'll have
pages,
it on
Greg
there.
Daniels, Marlon Jones.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be on. So whatever part you missed, if you missed the beginning of the show or you missed the towards the end of the show, come back and check us out. But whatever you do, like and share.
Yes.
And comments, because we want to see what you think about the show. We also want to know what you want to talk about, and we'll look it up. We'll research it. We'll talk about it, and like I said, 904live.com. And let's finish the AFC East, which the Jets,
They're retooling.
they're retooling. The quarterback, a second-year player, he looks like he might be able to do something.
He's kind of hit that sophomore wall, in my opinion. He's inconsistent because one game you see him and he looks like that's the franchise quarterback,
Against Dallas, he had that type of game.
and then next game you see him and he has that, as he said, he's seeing ghosts. And
That was a game before he played the Jaguars, wasn't it?
Yes, he was seeing ghosts, and like I said, unless his name is Haley Joel Osment, I don't
that went over my head.
I don't think your quarterback needs to be seeing dead people.
Oh, that's who that was. That
Yeah,
that
from
was
the
his
Sixth
name.
Sense. Yes.
Haley Joe Osmond.
Yes.
Okay, so now I got a name with the face. Okay.
The quarterback seeing dead people.
All right. Let's go west, but we'll stay in the AFC. Kansas City, Oakland, Denver. Denver, surprisingly.
Yeah,
They're
Drew
starting-
Lock played like a quarterback.
They're starting to play better, but the season's lost for them.
What was going on that practice field that led the coach to believe that Drew Lock was not ready to play?
Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he just now got ready.
I mean, well, if that's the case, I would like to know what the catalyst was, because you went out and got Joe Flacco. That was a bad move. I knew it was a bad move when they did it. I said it was a bad move when they did it. And now, you're just going to have to cut him and cut your losses. He's burned all bridges he has in Denver.
Well, if Drew Lock is who he appears to be, then I think they'll happily do that, because Joe Flacco was only a stopgap anyway.
Yeah, he was a stopgap, but I don't even understand why. I mean, I wouldn't even brought him in as a stopgap. I mean, there was too many other options that you could have brought in for a stopgap that would have been a better, that at least would have gotten you to a respectable record this year and allowed you to sit Drew Lock on the bench. From what I saw in this past game, there was no reason that kid should have been sitting behind Joe Flacco.
Well, if they found a quarterback, then I think they're happy with that. Let's talk about a team that was here just a couple of days ago, the LA Chargers.
So,
Chargers are now 5-8, I believe.
yeah, thanks to us.
They have a chance to at least break even for the season. Is this the last that we see of Chargers quarterback in San Diego?
Well, I don't know. It depends on him. I feel like he's at that status somewhat like where Brady is, where he's still playing good enough
Right.
that they can't let him go. However, he's showing the kinks in the
The
armor.
wear and tear.
Right.
Well, he's been around as long as Eli Manning has been around. So
Yeah, they were drafted same.
they were traded for one another, as a
Right.
matter of fact.
Right.
So
And Eli's on his way out the door.
somewhere,
Yeah.
maybe here.
I think he's going to retire.
You think he's going to retire?
I think he's done. I
But-
don't think he wants to start over anywhere. I mean, speaking of that draft, Eli is very particular about where he wants to play football, and he also is aware that his skill set is diminished.
Well, yeah, I saw that 5 years ago, but that's beside the point. So we're talking about the Chargers. Chargers defensively look very good against the Jaguars. The
They have the
Jaguars
bookends.
were confused. They look like the playoff team from last year.
Well, I wouldn't measure that defense against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I said before, that team quit. And on top of that, we're dealing with backups at practically every other position. So I wouldn't
Well,
use that as the example as
Chargers-
to how good they are.
As we've stated, the best they can finish is 8-8, and that's not going to be good enough to win the AFC West. Let's talk about the Oakland Raiders.
Which we will be seeing that team on Sunday.
Sunday, locally here in Jacksonville or in Duval County. And
They were looking really good and looking competitive towards the beginning of the season, and now it's almost kind of seemed like they've hit a wall.
and maybe that's true. They're still a fairly young team,
Yes.
and you hit that wall. Now, are the Jaguars the team to help them get well, because they still got a little less than a quarter of a season to go?
Jaguars are basically what has happened is it seems like the Jaguars have taken the Miami Dolphins uniforms and have switched uniforms with the Miami Dolphins.
So they're the early season. They're the late season Miami Dolphins, and the
they
late
become a bye week. That's
and,
basically what they become.
and the late season Dolphins are where the Jaguars were earlier in the season.
Yeah, they're playing competitive football. They may not be playing winning football, but they're playing competitive football. Whereas this Jaguar team, we've become we become the joke. We become the
Well,
bye week team.
we got Jaguars on our mind, so we're not going.
Yeah,
we're
not
going to go back
there,
to
but
Oakland. We're going to go back to Oakland, and Oakland. Now,
They spent a lot.
they spend a lot of money. Is Gruden starting to? Is this the year that Gruden changes the atmosphere? This is what, second year?
I think the team is bought into what he's selling. I feel like they're, just like you said, they are young. It's going to maybe take a few more moves. I'm not seeing what they saw in their defensive end pick that they picked over Josh Allen and Cleveland Farrell. I'm not really seeing that right now. I mean, it doesn't look like
He was the player from Clemson, right?
right.
Played on the national championship team,
And
that's what they saw.
right. And they were talking about his leadership and things like that, but that's that's the defense that's the bottom half of the league. So, I'm not really seeing what you saw in him at this point. And they're still, as you stated before, they're still playing undisciplined defense or a disciplined football where they're, still getting the penalties. So I'm not really seeing the leadership in that.
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone this week about Gruden. Gruden, who was, of course, on ESPN for years.
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football, but more than that, he had the show, the coaches show, where he would take a quarterback,
Right.
and he would go to ask the quarterback, what is he seeing? When I say quarterback, we're talking about the top quarterbacks from each year from college.
Right.
And he would grade them as they tell him what they saw and what plays they would call. Why isn't he doing that with his team?
I would say that he probably has with Derek Carr. I feel like he was looking to see what he can get out of Derek Carr. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to somehow move up and grab a quarterback. This is going to be a quarterback-rich draft. I wouldn't be surprised to see them grab another quarterback.
All right, we're at halftime now.
Yes, sir.
Just about halftime, so we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to finish with the rest of the NFL. In fact, we're going to go over to the NFC. But before we go there, we're going to talk about Kansas City when we come back.
Yes, sir.
This is the Sunshine Sports Report. We're on the platforms of 904live.com. Tune in, like us, share, make comments. We'll be back in a minute.
If you're in the mood for the best seafood south of the Chesapeake, there's only one place to go. The Blue Crab on Julington Creek Road in Jacksonville. Serving the best Maryland-style crab house fare with a southern touch. Try our signature steamed blue crabs, seasoned to perfection with spices straight from Maryland. And don't forget to grab a drink with friends at our bar, with specialty drinks you won't find anywhere else.
Come on down and beat the blues.
That buffet was created out at the Palms Fish Camp that my parents owned for a long time, and we started doing that on the weekend, and then started getting recognized in every city, newspaper, television, because of the authenticity of North Florida's cuisine.
Gotcha.
The collard greens?
Heck yeah.
You don't find people that can cook collard greens anymore.
What's in that mashed potato casserole, man? That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's the Little Marsh Island
Little.
casserole.
Besides the delicious casserole with cheese and scallops, I also love the fried green tomatoes, the greens, and last but not least, the Cajun shrimp that Art serves straight out of a giant iron skillet.
We never saw any of that artificial crab meat. We had the real thing.
Right.
We never had to get that bleached out and dyed fish and call it crab cakes. Attention, everybody! There's something I have to tell you about the crab cakes. There's something in them you may not recognize the flavor. It's real crab meat. Eat 'em up, eat 'em up. Yeah. The reason we do reservations is because it's like coming to your mother's house for dinner. Everything we fix is your food. So if you don't eat it all, you're going to take it home with you. One time, Times Union did an article on me, and they said, come often, start early, eat a lot, because art starts out fresh every day and runs out. Coming at you, hot shrimp!
And you have fried fish, and you have
With cornmeal batter.
fried shrimp, which is not too bad either.
Oh,
and how do you
fried-
serve it?
Hot shrimp, hot shrimp. That's how we do our shrimp. We got hot shrimp.
What kind of fish was that?
The fish is a whiting when we can, but always a white fish. But what is so good about ours is the cornmeal batter.
Like
And
it's
that's
supposed to be.
Like it's supposed to be. Like your grandmother's grandmother would have
Like
done.
Mammy made it.
Mammy made it with some cheese grits, some fried green tomatoes.
You guys had some smoked ribs in
Oh
there
yeah,
too.
we have some killer smoked ribs cooked on that old-fashioned pit. That pit was built in 1967. We just
Almost
throw-
as old as I am then.
I wish I could say that. Together at Checker, but we especially love it when they come together at a birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
And welcome back to the Sunshine Sports Report on 904live.com. This is Greg Daniels,
This is Marlon Jones.
and you can catch us on 904live.com. You can also catch us on Periscope, or we're on YouTube as well.
Yes.
Or you can catch the replay on all of those, plus our pages, Greg Daniels and Marlon Jones.
Yes, sir. And you,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, make sure you share as well. If you're on Watch Party, you'll see where it has the blue share button at the bottom on Watch Party, so you can share there. You can also, if you click on the video and click on the three little dots in the corner, you can copy the link and share it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are different ways that you can share, but we definitely want you to utilize the options to share and to let everybody else know that we have this great show going on, and we're talking sports.
And you can also catch us every Thursday, 7 o'clock,
Yes,
right
sir.
here on 904live.com, the Sunshine Sports Report. We left off with one team left in the AFC, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes.
Kansas City, are they getting that hangover from success from last year?
Well, I feel like the injuries are starting to mount up on Patrick Mahomes, which that was really their catalyst. That was, and between the injuries mounting and a full year for defensive coordinators to look at his tendencies, right? Now what you have is teams are prepared for what they can expect for Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to fall for the no-look passes. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think he's very healthy to be making, to be going out there and playing as freely at that backyard style that he likes to play.
Well, we'll see.
But the defense has started to step up.
And that was Kansas City's Achilles tendon last season and the start of this season. So Kansas City will probably go on and win that AFC West and represent the AFC West in the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Now, let's start with the NFC least, I call it. The Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Redskins, and New York Giants.
Trash.
The only reason why one team from that conference is going, or rather that division, is going to a playoff game is because they have to. That's the only reason.
Last team standing, pretty
They-
much.
The Cowboys and the Eagles are tied, I believe, at 6 and 7. When was the last time any conference had teams underwater as far as the division is concerned? No team is above 500.
Nah,
They
yeah.
will probably finish above 500 because they play one another.
Right.
But if they didn't play one another, when was the last time anybody finished? Everybody in the division finished below 500.
That is, I mean, it's a shame because both the Cowboys and the Eagles were looked at as Super Bowl contenders. They were both looked as teams to, that could play for the Super Bowl. Now, what happened?
Well, it's hard to say. What?
The personnels haven't really changed that much
No,
different. They're
no.
about the same as they were last year on the Eagles as well as on the Cowboys.
Cowboys have that same dynamic offensive line.
Yes,
They have Ezekiel Elliott.
right. Paid
The-
Ezekiel Elliott.
Who is that?
Paid Ezekiel
Oh,
Elliott.
paid, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott is playing for a contract. He's playing fairly well.
Amari Cooper also playing for a contract.
Now, he's been hurt a little bit.
He's been hurt a little bit, but I mean, even I would say that at this point, it looks stale.
Yeah.
It looks stale. It
Like
looks-
they've been listening to the same voice, as you would put it, in the locker room for too long.
yeah. I think somebody's gonna have to find those pictures that Jason Garrett has of Jerry Jones and get that off the table, because at some point you have to make a change.
So
When you have that much talent and you're losing,
we're gonna lump all four of those teams together, and keep in mind, I've been a New York Giant fan since 1963. We're gonna put them all in the same box. They're not going anywhere. One team will, by default, have to play in a playoff game, but that will probably be that. They'll be one and done. And the only reason why they're getting a home game, and they do get a home game because they win the division.
right? Because they're a division winner.
And
But yeah, they're
I don't expect much out of them unless they get an entirely different team. So it's going to be either Philadelphia or Dallas. If Philadelphia wins the rest of their games, it's going to be Philadelphia. If Dallas wins against Philadelphia and they win the rest of their games,
I think, and isn't Washington still in the running since both of those teams are playing so putridly? Or
yeah.
did that last loss take them
I think
completely
they
out of
still
it?
are, because I think they have 3 wins. So they can win. If the other teams lose all of their games and they win all of their games,
Then they can. So the Washington Redskins, which was the speed bump team
but once again,
in the league,
I
could
put
possibly make
them
the playoffs.
in the same box. Even if they get there and they do win, it's one and done.
Of course,
It's one and done.
yeah.
Let's
So enough of the NFC trash. What's next?
NFC Central. No, North.
NFC North. Oh,
North.
the
It used
most-
to be a Central.
the most dominant division in football right now.
Well, you have Chicago, you have Minnesota, you got Detroit, and who am I missing?
Well, I would say Green Bay is leading.
Green Bay.
Green Bay is leading the division, and then you've got Minnesota, who's surging. And
Minnesota's played consistent, I think, all season, though.
they started off rough. I mean, you remember Cousins had to come out and apologize to Adam Thielen, and Stephon Diggs at one point was trying to pull a Jalen Ramsey and ask for his release.
In fact, he
or
did it
his
before.
trade.
Okay, didn't he do that before Ramsey did?
Yep.
And they were able to go in and calm him down. That's coaching, and that's good management.
Right.
That's something that
And good leadership.
yeah, that's something that certain team around here doesn't have.
Yeah. We definitely.
You know, when you talk about coaching and coaching men, you're talking about more than just X and O's.
Yeah, you have to be able to deal with personalities.
Exactly.
Yeah, and egos, because everybody in that locker room at some point was the best.
Yeah. For the
So,
most part.
yeah, so you have to be able to balance the egos. You have to be able to motivate. You have to be able to get these guys to buy into what you're selling.
So who do you like in that division? Is it Green Bay or is it Minnesota?
I like Minnesota, and the reason why is I feel like Green Bay just has way too many. I see the Aaron situation coming up with Aaron Jones emerging as one of the better running backs in the league right now, but I feel like it's still Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of no-name receivers other than Devontae Adams. Yeah, and I feel like until they get to a point where they can, are you going to throw it? Are you going to be a passing team? Or are you going to be a running team? I don't think they.
Well, I think in Green Bay, doesn't the weather dictate that to you though? When you're playing in Green Bay.
I mean, not in the past. It's been Aaron Rodgers all the way. They just got a running game. They've never had. They haven't had a consistent running game for years. So now they have a running back and they have a running game. But I really don't. It doesn't look to me like they know what to do with it. It seems like in the situations where I'm seeing where they're struggling, they'll go away from the running game and they'll have Aaron just throwing it, and he's not moving the ball. And then they try to go to the running game, and it's almost like it's too late.
Too late. Okay.
So in the losses that they have, it just seems like they just need to pick an identity and stick with it.
Chicago was the team
Yes.
to win the North. They were the team because they had Mitch Trubisky.
Yes.
They had
Mr.
a pretty
Biscuit.
good. They had a pretty good running attack, and their defense was going to be one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
It didn't turn out that way, or at least it hadn't to this point. They're another team. I don't think they're out of the playoffs just yet.
No, I think they are. I think they are because Minnesota. But when you got Minnesota and Green Bay competing as they are, no, I think they're out. They're out if I'm not mistaken.
So it's another disappointing season for Chicago Bear fans then, because they were really looking for a playoff run this year.
Well, see, they were looking for a kicker all off season, and then the offense struggled.
You know where that kicker is at? It's in San Francisco.
Exactly. The offense struggled. The defense, of all things, struggles. And
especially in Chicago with that weather.
And Khalil Mack, who looked like he was, like the most dominant defensive player in the league, has disappeared.
So maybe John Gruden was right.
No.
The old saying is, if you trade a superstar, it's better to trade him 1 year earlier than 1 year later.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, the defense as a whole has struggled. It's not just him, but
he was the player to make the defense.
Mm-hmm. But what did they do with the picks? I'm still not sold on Cleveland Farrell.
Well, but they got multiple picks, so even if Farrell doesn't turn out, they have several other players.
Well, Josh Jacobs, he's had a very good year, but a running back is only good for 5 years, if that's maximum.
But it might be the right 5 years.
We will see.
So, like I said, the old adage is it's better to trade a superstar 1 year earlier than 1 year later. Mm-hmm. So that leaves Detroit. Detroit probably would have been better. They probably would have been challenging in the North had their quarterback not gotten hurt.
Exactly. That's really what hurt
Matthew Stafford has been and is one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
And had he been able to stay healthy, he would have I think had Detroit in the running against Green Bay and Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So tough luck, Detroit. Of course, Colin Kaepernick would have been a pretty good pick at this time. They could have used him.
The NFL has officially moved on from Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, so I heard.
Yeah.
So
So let's move on as well. So where we did the NFC North.
now let's go out west, and that's the division I like the best.
Okay.
I like that division the best because you have Seattle,
Yes.
you've got San Francisco, and you got the team from last year's Super Bowl, the LA Rams.
Yeah. Which funny.
And Arizona, I know they're not in the conversation this year, but Tyler Murray has played very well.
Yes, he
and you
has.
can see that they may, excuse me, they may be an up and coming team. So I'm sorry about that. It's
Contagious.
It's contagious. But right now, San Francisco played a really good game against New Orleans.
A competitive game. Now,
It was back and forth. It was the last one with the ball.
Yeah, now for fantasy football people that have been riding with the San Francisco defense all year, you didn't like that game. I did not like that game. However,
But for defense,
for
because
offense,
it was an outstanding
it was
game.
outstanding. For you to stand with New Orleans of all teams and go score for score and outscore them in the end, yeah, that was.
And Garofalo, he continues to impress.
He's showing that he's who you thought he was when you picked him up as a free agent.
No, it was a trade, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a trade.
Was it a trade? Yes.
It was a trade.
But when you picked him up, this is who you thought he was. This is the guy you thought he was. And now he's starting to play like that. He has the tools. He has the
He got
players
the
around
tools,
him.
yeah.
So, yes, he's starting to play like that.
And San Francisco, I mean, you can look defensively and you can look offensively. And they have went out and made the draft picks. They had a ton of draft picks over the last 4, 5, 6 years, and they made the right choices. And they were able to hold on to them.
And, I mean, Kyle Shanahan is definitely showing himself to have, been a very good coaching hire, as
Is
well
he
as John Lynch, a very good GM hire.
Yeah. Is he the John Harbaugh of the NFC?
No, I think
Not yet.
I think he's just a Mike Shanahan.
Mike
Yeah,
Shanahan?
I mean, because his dad was able to put together good teams, and he's able to put together good teams. I feel like he's just a chip off the old block.
Okay. Seattle, Russell Wilson is he's in the running for MVP,
Yeah.
as he is most years.
Yeah, and
And they have a running game with Penny and what's the other running back's name? Well, they have
Chris Carson. Chris
Yeah,
Carson,
they have
that's
a
their starter.
dual threat.
Penny
And-
just got hurt, so
Did he?
Yeah, so Chris Carson's probably gonna be taking a good amount of the load, which he can. He plays like a feature back. He does play like a feature back.
And the wide receivers are, if not Pro Bowl, they're top notch.
Yeah,
They're
I
top-
mean, yeah, they've got a lot. I would say it like this. I'm basically saying that it's rare that you see a guy become the highest paid player in the league and
gets
promptly
better.
go out and earn the money.
It gets better.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson is playing like one of the highest paid players in the league. He's actually doing what he was paid to do.
They have gotten rid of the Legion of Boom in Seattle, but they replaced it. The defense may not be quite as good as that Legion of Boom team was, but for the offense that Seattle puts out on the field, they're more than adequate.
They've gone from the Legion of Boom to In Russ We Trust.
In Russ we trust. And, okay, let's go to the LA Rams.
Yes.
Now, Rams, they're lingering. They're at what not?
They're schizophrenic.
Yeah. they won a game against who did they play?
Oh, just recently they beat the brakes off of.
Was it? It was Seattle. It was Seattle.
Yeah.
It was Seattle.
The
But
Rams.
by doing that, they left notice that hey, we're still in it. We are the team that dominated the division last year, and we still got something for everybody.
But the problem that I have with the Rams, first and foremost, your window to win was, I mean, this was your year. This was your year. You had to make it back this year. You had to make noise this year.
Well,
because the reason why, you have the highest paid running back in the league.
Right.
You have a top 5 paid quarterback in the league.
Right.
You have the highest paid defensive player in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that,
And that's Aaron Donald.
yes, you're now trying to pay the highest paid defensive back in the league, who basically says he wants to be paid regardless of position.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be paid top 5 regardless of position. So with that being said, where's the money coming from?
Well, they've already paid the Donald. They've already paid the running back.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like for Jalen Ramsey to get the money that he's asking for, he's going to have to find it someplace else.
I mean, that's what it's looking like. And then the other side of it is, let's say that you do sign Jalen Ramsey. What happens to Cooper Kupp?
No, Cooper's not going anywhere.
But see, that's the point.
He's not going anywhere.
He has maybe 1 or 2 more years left before he's going to need his money as well.
Well, but that's the thing. They can win without Jalen because they won without Jalen last year.
But if you're the general manager, you gave up 2 first-round picks to go
And
get this guy.
That hurts. That hurts.
So how do you explain, without losing your job, that you gave up 2 first-round picks for a guy and you only got him for how many games?
7, 8, something like that.
You didn't even get him for a full season. You got him for a portion of a season, and that's it. Not even a 1 year. Not even a 1 year player.
But you don't let Cooper Kupp walk.
You don't let him walk. But I mean, how do you pay him if you're going to break the bank on Jalen?
I say they don't. I say they cut their losses.
I mean, but that means that
Which means
that general manager has to basically be on the hot seat now.
But he'll have a job, and especially if the Rams are competitive next season. We'll see about that. It's always a crapshoot, always. I think they rolled the dice because they wanted, like you said, they wanted to win this year. But I think they still have a couple of more years in which they can win.
But for you to not even, it's not even just the fact of that you got Jalen and you're not going to be able to re-sign him. But you got Jalen, you gave up 2 first-round picks, and then you don't make the playoffs.
That's tough.
That's beyond tough.
That's
How
tough.
many times have you seen that happen
If-
in the NFL?
If they were in the East, they would make the playoffs. If they were, say, in the North, they might make the playoffs.
But I mean, you were.
But they aren't. They're in the toughest. Like I think the toughest division is the NFC.
and you're 1 year
West.
removed from a Super Bowl run.
So that will keep the GM's job right there. That'll keep it. And that leaves, let's see, who else is in the West?
And then we
Arizona.
We spoke about Arizona and the up and coming last
One
year
more
of Larry Fitzgerald. I think this is his last year.
Did he announce that already?
He hasn't announced it, but in seeing the way he's playing lately, and then knowing that is a rebuilding team, I don't see a veteran with as much tread on his
Well,
tires as he
maybe-
does to stay.
Maybe he doesn't stay in Arizona. Maybe he moves on someplace else.
I don't think so. I feel like he's the type of player, especially as many times as he's given up more money elsewhere to stay in Arizona. I don't feel
will
like he
say
would want to
this.
go elsewhere.
You know, it's a business, and he might chase rings. Who knows? Because Emmitt Smith did. Although he went to another team, he didn't actually.
He went to Arizona.
Yeah, he didn't basically chase a ring. He just wanted to continue to play.
Right. Well, no, he was chasing the record.
Record. That's
what he wanted to do was get
Okay.
the record.
And last but not least, the NFC South.
Yeah,
Those Dirty Birds.
the Dirty Birds, who
They're playing consistent.
too late, but yeah, they finally woke up.
But you got those You got the New Orleans Saints, who looks like the class of the NFC.
Yes.
NFC South, that is.
Yeah, New Orleans Saints are right now looking like they're Super Bowl or bust. They're playing solid defense. Drew Brees.
Up until last week.
Yeah, well, yeah. That situation. I think both defenses just took the night off that deep.
Or they just ran into two very good offenses. And okay, we've got Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is interesting to me only because of the quarterback, Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he's right now he's the highest, has the most turnovers of any player in the league.
But what I saw this week was at 25 he's tied with Peyton Manning. His stats are exactly the same at the same part of the season. I think he had like 28 touchdowns and 15 turnovers.
Yeah, and I think he's in a contract year right now.
This is contract year.
So
there's some talk about him going to Miami.
I wouldn't do that if I was Jameis.
But let's talk about it.
I
mean,
wouldn't do that.
You know, that's only rumors, but
because wherever he goes next, that's going to be his last stop.
well, we don't know. He's a quarterback. Quarterbacks can get a couple of.
I mean, as far as being a starter, if he doesn't pan out at his next stop, he's going to be a backup for the rest of his career.
Okay. Well,
However long that lasts.
still make plenty of money. And last but not least, in the NFC South, we've got what do we got in the South?
The New Orleans Falcons. Oh, Panthers.
Hate it? No.
Yeah. Right now,
only,
they're just all over the place.
yeah, there's only one player we want to talk about in
Just real
Carolina.
quick, Cam Newton is who you gonna or
No.
Christian McCaffrey?
McCaffrey.
Well,
Cam Newton probably won't be there next season.
and here's where my frustration comes in at. I'm sorry, I gotta vent real quick. As a fantasy football owner of Cam Newton and Kyle Allen, I am absolutely frustrated in Kyle Allen. That guy is a turnover machine. That guy does not deserve to be a franchise starting quarterback in this league.
He's not.
He won't be. He
So
won't
maybe
be.
Cam stays.
No, Cam's not staying. Will Greer's going to get another opportunity before the end of this season, but I absolutely, I am upset with Kyle Allen. Absolutely, and that's just me. That's my personal beef, guys. I apologize. Back to our regular scheduled program.
There's lots more to talk about, but that's going to do it for this particular
sir.
hour
Went
of the
fast.
Sunshine Sports Report. Yeah, it was kind of in and out, huh?
Yes, sir.
So we just went over the NFC, the AFC, and next week we're going to be talking about college sports because we got the bowls all set up. And who do you like for the Heisman Trophy real quick?
Joe Burrows.
Joe Burrows. That's going to do it for the Sunshine Sports Report. I'm Greg Daniels.
And this is Marlon Jones.
Don't forget to like and share on Facebook. That's Sun04Live.com, the Sunshine Sports Report.